the use of neurotherapy to produce super-optimal performance of people who are healthy is an area that has become an object of research much more recently. And here there are different kinds of neurotherapy. But one that I'd like to touch on briefly is the work of John Grützelier at Imperial College in London, who was interested in a particular kind of neurotherapy, and that's one where you teach people to increase for a period of time a particular rhythm known as the theta rhythm that's associated with relaxation, drowsiness, sometimes the sort of state just before going to sleep when you get those vivid images. Now, what he noted was that when people were taught to increase this rhythm for a period of 20 minutes or so, at the end of that period of neurotherapy, they came out feeling very well. They came out feeling reinvigorated. Whereas before they might have felt fatigued and inattentive, they came out sparkling, to use his expression. And many people claim that the benefits seem to last for a long period of time and in fact seem to carry over into their everyday life. And he undertook a major study, which was published recently in the journal Neuro Report, to see whether in fact neurotherapy of this type of neurotherapy, theta neurotherapy, could actually enhance the learning process in a very demanding situation. And the situation that he looked at were students who were students at the Royal Academy of Music in London, who were essentially in training as solo performers. And these were the best of their year, so to speak, throughout the UK, and in fact from the best from overseas as well. So these were very high functioning individuals. And as a control study, a group was selected. Half of them included this neurotherapy, this theta neurotherapy that I've mentioned. The other half did other things which looked like neurotherapy or were related to, but weren't the same thing. And they did this, I think, for something of the order of about 14 weeks. At the end of the year, all the students, as is the normal case, were assessed by examiners who were leading musicians in their own right, and they were examined blind. That is to say, the people who were doing the examining didn't know whether the people before them, the student before them, had been included in a neurotherapy group or in the other group, the control group. And what was amazing was there was a dramatic improvement in the scores that were obtained by the students who had been in a neurotherapy group. Very, very dramatic. Not only that, but the students themselves really enjoyed the experience. It really made them feel good. And this was such a dramatic effect that my understanding is that the Royal Academy of Music has now decided to include neurotherapy on the syllabus for all students who wish to partake of it. Now, this is an interesting example of the use of neurotechnology to fine-tune, to enhance the operation of the brain. I understand that more recently, the Stuttgart Ballet has also contacted John Grützelier to see whether all their corps de ballet can also be included in a course in neurotherapy. The interesting issue is, what is neurotherapy doing? It's changing certain rhythms. But those rhythms in the EEG that we can record, they are in turn generated by the behavior of nerve cells. Those nerve cells in turn, their behavior is influenced by a number of factors, including what a range of neurotransmitters, chemicals, known as neuromodulators. These are compounds which have a longer term effect, that is to say over a number of seconds, as opposed to some of the neurotransmitters which operate for fractions, thousandths of a second, milliseconds. These neuromodulators include chemicals like dopamine that I mentioned earlier in relation to ADHD, acetylcholine, which is a very important neurotransmitter in many systems concerned with attention, motivation, but also memory. Noradrenaline, particularly involved in attention and mood. Many of these also have a very powerful impact on mood. And serotonin, which is, among other things, has a very important impact on the mood system. And what I suspect is happening is that neurotherapy is an indirect way of changing levels of neuromodulators.